going on, everyone? This is SonicMix, and today I am going to give my review of WWE Monday Night Raw. Raw was just over just a moment ago, and I have to say, not as good as last week's. Although last week wasn't all that great either. But, I mean, last week's was okay. This was not so great. But without further ado, let's begin with the review. So, the night kicked off with the Chris Jericho Fandango dance-off. In all honesty, this was a waste of time. Basically, Fandango and his girl, they do their dance, and then the girl apparently has an injury, and Jericho never got to dance at all. So thus, Fandango basically attacks them, and towards the end, which actually, I did not see this coming. I will be frankly honest with you, I did not see this coming. The girl actually was faking the ankle injury, which I didn't see coming. So, kind of a tongue twister, kind of a curveball, as some people would say. But other than that, really a waste of time. This wasn't even a contest. This gets a star out of 5. Up next was Ryback against Ryder, the Battle of the Rise. This was a squash match. Ryback, for about a minute and a half, just dominated and hits the shell shock, and really nothing much to be said about this match. It was basically a less than 2-minute match, and unfortunately, this match gets a star. Up next was Tons of Funk versus the Primetime Players in a tag team. Although this was a bit better than the Ryback versus Ryder match, because at least the Primetime Players did do at least something than nothing. But the match only went for about 3 minutes, 4 minutes about. I think it was like about, no, I think it was actually less than 3 minutes. But it was about 3 minutes. The Primetime Players actually pick up the win with this. And actually, I've been noticing that Tons of Funk have been losing as a team and singles competition. So I'm kind of wondering if they're slowly disintegrating the team, and to the point to where they might actually split them up. In all honesty, I hope they do, because it's kind of a waste of a tag team. This match gets a star, maybe a star and 1/4 or 1.25 out of 5 if you're that generous. Up next was the World Heavyweight Champion situation regarding with the Dolph Ziggler concussion. Now, for those that did not know, this past Friday, or last week Tuesday, because they recorded on a Tuesday and they put it on Friday, Dolph Ziggler suffered a concussion. Yes, this was a serious thing that happened, and this storyline is basically revolving around if Ziggler can compete. And unfortunately, it looks like he's not, but the title won't be stripped. However, the ladder match is now changed to now Jack Swagger versus Del Rio for a future #1 contendership match in an I Quit match. This was really nothing intriguing. I mean, I'm actually surprised that they changed the ladder match into an I Quit match, because I think it would be much more interesting if it was a ladder match than an I Quit match. Don't get me wrong, an I Quit match is always fun to watch, but it hasn't been as fun to watch as of late. And you know what? I think another reason for the concussion is there could be a personal issue with the whole Swagger and marijuana thing. Because for those that don't know, Swagger got in trouble with the whole marijuana possession and speeding back in February. And I think originally he was supposed to win the world title at Mania, but of course, because with the marijuana possession and all that, they changed their mind to have Del Rio win, and then with Ziggler winning. So, I don't know. I think on a personal issue, there might be some jealousy, but hey, you get in trouble, you suffer the consequences. It's simple as that. The promo was really nothing special. 1.25 out of 5, I gotta give it. And yes, I will actually be rating promos, whether it's backstage or whatever. Up next, we actually get into our very first decent match. Kofi Kingston versus Damien Sandow. Unfortunately, no karaoke from Sandow, but the Randy Orton one from last week will always be priceless. This was decent. Only went for about 5-6 minutes, but for what it was worth, it was decent. Of course, it's free TV. This is not a pay-per-view. Could be a bit better if it was on a pay-per-view. Maybe these guys could have maybe a little bit of a longer match. But like I said, this was about 5 minutes. I think maybe 6 minutes at most. I give it about a 2.25 out of 5. It was decent, but what do you expect? It's free TV, so you ain't gonna expect much out of free TV. Although you could. Depends. Up next was the Mark Henry promo with the whole strap match. This was kind of actually entertaining in a way. I kind of like the fact how Mark Henry was. He used Josh Matthews as a guinea pig and was basically dragging him around and explaining how the matches worked. And then after that was over, Josh Matthews runs away over the barricade and into the crowd. They didn't show that part. I don't know why, but it was interesting. Then Sheamus comes out, and you know, then it's basically strap versus strap. They're whipping at each other, and kind of turned into really nothing interesting after that. But it was interesting until the fighting came. But it was all right, I would say. 1.75, maybe a 2. Just to round it up. Up next was Antonio Cesaro versus Randy Orton. This match was, it was alright, but nothing really spectacular. As I mentioned before with Kofi versus Sandow, this was a pay-per-view. If the match was longer, and they made them do a lot more, maybe this match would have been alright, or good at least. But, you know, they've each gotten their share of fights and their wrestling mobility. And, of course, Randy Orton, in the end, pops the RKO out of nowhere and wins the match like that. I give the match a 2 out of 5. Up next was Heath Slater versus the returning Miz after his one-day reign as Intercontinental Champion, losing it to Wade Barrett. This match was really nothing special. It was more of the return of The Miz, and for the most part, The Miz dominated, but Heath Slater did pull off some intriguing moves, and in the end, of course, not Ric Flair, The Miz puts on the figure 4 leg lock, which that's why I thought of Ric Flair. But, nothing too special. Like I said, it was alright, but it was more on the, this is the return of The Miz, and for free television, it was decent, but nothing spectacular or good. I give it a 2 out of 5. I know I might sound a bit generous out of that, but at least it was alright. At least it was kind of entertaining. Up next, which was probably the best match out of the whole card, Team Cena, which was John Cena, Kane, and Daniel Bryan, against The Shield in a tag team elimination match. This was a great match. This was a great tag team match, as I like to say. And yes, Cena actually, I think in this match, Cena did more than just laying around and then coming, making this big comeback as Superman. As a matter of fact, both teams were very well even. And that's what I liked about this match. The Shield looked good. Team Cena and Team Hell No, they looked good as well. And overall, this was a very good match. The first elimination goes to Kane. He basically disqualifies himself by hitting, who was it? I think it was Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns with the top of the table or the lid to Roman Reigns with Seth Rollins. I forgot which one it was. And then later on in the match, Dean Ambrose pins Daniel Bryan. So thus it's 3-on-1. So it's the Shield against John Cena. And then Cena comes in. He does his thing. He's coming out like a bat out of hell. And he gives the attitude adjustment first to Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins gets pinned. Now it's 2 against 1. And then Dean Ambrose is in. But then Roman Reigns once again. So thus he pushes the ref out of the way. gets himself disqualified, and then it's one-on-one, and Cena has Dean Ambrose in the STF. I almost said the STFU. That was the original name back in 05-06, but it's called the STF. And when it looked like Dean Ambrose was gonna tap, the Shield comes in, and they do the triple A powerbomb. Then Ryback comes in, and he looks over Cena, leaves the ring, thinks about it for a moment, goes back, and takes a chair and hits the injured Achilles of John Cena. If the match would have ended with a pinfall with Dean Ambrose getting the pin, I think that would have been phenomenal, but I guess they don't want to put Dean Ambrose, like, shooting him to the moon that quick. So I guess it's kind of understandable. Thus, it would make Dean Ambrose look a lot better than Seth Rollins against Roman Reigns. So it probably was the better move to have it a disqualification, because if you do make Dean Ambrose pin Cena, you basically shoot him to the moon in a way, because it's one-on-one and he's the guy that beat it Cena. So I think it was a good move. I give this match a 3.5 out of 5. This match was definitely good for what it was worth. And for free television, definitely good. Then next we had a Ryback backstage segment. Nothing really spectacular. He just basically said his thing and then said Ryback rules. Which actually, I want to talk about the Ryback rules thing. Me and my friend, we were talking on the phone today, and he said that the Ryback rules, he thinks, is a ripoff of the Hulk Hogan rules. Because if you remember, they had that Titantron on Hulk Hogan said Hulk rules. And my friend thinks that Ryback is ripping it off from Hulk rules to Ryback rules. And I want your guys' response to that. Do you think that the Ryback rules is a ripoff of the Hulk rules? Or do you think it's just his own thing? Let me hear it from you in the comments box down below there. And let me hear what you have to say about that. Up next was Big E versus the choice of who the people voted for, which was either Swagger or Del Rio. Surprisingly, people picked Swagger. I thought Del Rio was going to win. But nonetheless, we got Big E Langston versus Jack Swagger. This match was very slow. Almost, I wouldn't say it was unbearable to watch, but it was just kind of just boring. I actually thought it was going to be something intriguing, but I guess I was wrong. In the end, how did it happen in the end? Oh yeah, that's right. Big E got counted out, and Swagger wins with a count out. Then Del Rio comes out, and he gets a little piece at Swagger. Then Big E kind of interferes. He gets his piece on Swagger. Del Rio pushes him out of the way. And basically then it's Del Rio and Swagger going at it. And it ends with basically Del Rio in the ring. So, very slow match. Kind of very boring to watch. I give about 1.75 out of 5. Really, really slow match. Up next was Natalya against AJ. This is your typical Divas match. I know, I mean, I know I said this in the one other video, but it's amazing how 10 years ago and during the Attitude Era, it was worth a watch to watch the Divas division, but ever since all the good ones left, the Divas matches haven't really been interesting. They've not been interesting to watch. I would say it was at least decent to okay after 2010, I would say. Or after Natalya lost the Divas Championship, I think that was when it just kind of got stale. And then Beth Phoenix went, then Michelle McCool went, so Natalya did try her best to make this at least a decent match, but AJ pulling off like 3 moves. However, I did like the finish, how when it looked like Natalya was going to go for a side slam, AJ counters what looked like was going to be a Hurricanrana, but turns it into a submission. I actually found that to be very interesting, and an interesting way to end the match. the match ends with a submission. AJ gets the submission over Natalya, and I have to say, it was a very interesting ending and a first submission win for AJ. Up next was the Jericho backstage segment. This one was your typical Jericho. I mean, just says it as it is, serious, and basically saying that he's going to kick Fandango's ass and give him what a real dancing lesson is. Nothing special, but it's Chris Jericho. He says it as it is and does a good job with it. I give it a 2 out of 5. And then finally, I guess you could say the main event. It was the promo of Triple H and Brock Lesnar. This was a good promo. I would say Triple H did a good job, Paul Heyman as always, and Brock Lesnar being as this silent man beast, just looking on, keeping himself quiet, keeping himself zipped while Paul Heyman does the talking. I kind of like the facts when, how was it? Paul Heyman said something like how can you say hate on a television show like this? I guess referring to the whole PG WWE. And then as they're about to leave, then Triple H says his thing of how he says to Brock Lesnar something like how Heyman is keeping him back, and then towards the end he says, Are you gonna come to this ring and be Brock Lesnar the Beast, or are you gonna be Brock Lesnar the Bitch? And of course Brock Lesnar comes, they get in the ring, and of course the cage is down, so they're fighting in the cage. And they go at it for about a minute or two, maybe 3 at most. And Triple H knocks him out, and basically the match, or the show, ends with Triple H on top of the cage and Heyman and Lesnar in the back going up to the ramp and into the backstage area. I actually give that promo a 3.25 out of 5. I found that to be very interesting. Overall, I hate to say it, I mean, even though with the promo with Triple H and Lesnar, I mean, even though that was good, and then the Team Cena versus Shield, that was a good match. That was the best night out of the whole Raw show. I would definitely check that out whenever you guys have the chance to. But besides those two, I mean, even though those two kind of made up for the show, I have to give it a 5.5 out of 10 for the overall show. I mean, I guess I could be I was trying to pull a 5.75, but I just couldn't do it. So I would give it a 5.5. Some people might give it a 5, maybe a 5.25. So I guess I'm kind of within that range. But with me, I give it a 5.5 just because of the fact that the Cena Shield match and then the promo kind of made up for it. And the other matches that were 2 stars were, like I said, they were decent, but nothing spectacular or good. So once again, 5.5 out of 10 is my overall show rating. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please do give me a comment. And also, do give me a comment, as I mentioned before, if the Ryback rules is a ripoff of the Hulk rules, in your opinion. Also, do check out my channel. Please give me a subscribe and check me out more for more videos to come. Until then, this is Sonic Mix saying have a good one, and I'll see you later.